Hello and welcome to the WIHS Journal, Public Affairs from 104.9 FM. I'm Paul Kretschmer. On today's broadcast, we'll be speaking with Edward Ford of Middletown, a candidate for the Middletown Common Council in the general election in November this year.
Certainly. I'm Edward Ford Jr. I'm from Middletown, Connecticut.
And what do you do when you're not here or on the campaign trail?
Oh, man. So I'm a full-time student at Central Connecticut. I'm also a sub-paraprofessional. I'm a Middletown Board of Education member. I'm an ordained reverend. The list goes on and on.
So you've been involved in the Board of Education. What motivated you to examine making a move from the Board of Ed to Chief Executive of the city?
Yeah. Oh, well, Town Council.
Town Council.
That came from a decision of me, really basically my passion for public service and me wanting to go to the next level of government in the city to make a difference and affect change on an even broader scale. You know, the Town Council plays a big role in where the education funding comes from, which is very important and vital. You know, we need to continue to adequately fund that and equitably fund that. And it also controls our taxes, which is another huge issue.
That's for
as
sure.
Well. So I want to try to affect change at that level. Yeah.
I've understood for a long, long time that the Board of Ed expenditures constitute something around half or more of the city of Middletown's budget. You are in a fairly prestigious and responsible position already, it would seem.
Yeah. It's definitely it's about 80% of the city's budget.
Is it that high? Is it that high nowadays?
Okay. It's definitely risen a lot. But that's because of our emphasis on how important education is to us here in the city. You know, I think that if education wasn't that important to us, it wouldn't be that high. You know, we want to continue to make sure that our students have the best and that they're college and career ready and that we're providing all the resources that they need and doing the best that we can for them.
So you wouldn't have any trouble with the proposition that how much money a society puts into education is one way to determine how it reflects on the importance of education as a whole.
I think it definitely determines what we value, right? You know, when you make an investment, whatever it is, a business, a government, even your household, it's you place the most money into what you value. You know what I'm saying? So if a city is placing that much money into education, it's saying, hey, we value this. If you place, as a father or mother, a lot of money into your household, into your kids' education, to them, you know, building that college fund or doing what you can to send them off to school or whatever it is that you're doing to build up their career in education, it's because you love and value your kid, you know. So, and that's what parents do because they do love their kids. And so we love our kids generally in this city. We want to make sure that they have the best.
Could you tell me how you initially became involved at the Board of Ed?
Yeah. So originally I was in Rhode Island. I wasn't even here at the time for a short amount of time, about a year, because I went off to college for my first year of college at Johnson & Wales.
Okay.
And I decided that I wanted to come back to continue my education in Connecticut. And I had already had this passion for politics and passion for public service. Not even so much politics as public service, because wanting to give back to a community that I grew up in, understanding everything that was poured into me, wanting to pour that out back to the kids that are coming up now. So when I came back and I continued my education at Middlesex here in Middletown, I said, you know what, I'm here. Why not run for office, run for the Board of Education, and start giving back in that way and having a younger voice, a youthful perspective to give back, because, you know, I feel like all age groups and demographics should have a seat at the table. And at the time that, you know, someone as young as me, 21 years old, was not up there. And so I wanted to change that.
Just one quick request, because when we make contact with the countertop, the microphone hears it.
My bad. Yeah,
Try not to bang too much on the counter.
That's the reverend in me. I'm banging
sure
when
enough.
I'm preaching and everything. So yeah.
So at the age of 21, then it isn't unheard of in your opinion for people of a broad range of ages to be represented on the various governmental organizations, whether it's the Common Council, Board of Education, Planning and Zoning Commission, and so on. Then.
Yeah, I mean, I think that at each and every level of government, it's important to have equity, and that means everybody's voice is coming to the table. You know, when you look at our city, it's a very diverse city. You know, we have a lot of it's very diverse, and so on our town council, I feel like that should be reflected, and we should have people who, like I said, are coming from all demographics, all age groups, and that are bringing their voices, the voices of their groups of the community that make the entire community should be all coming to the table, and the decisions that are made on that council, which affect all of us at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So it's important to have everybody's voices there, so no
Okay.
one's left out.
Okay. At this point in time, it would be a little bit like trying to determine the future without actually having any clue as to where it's going to go necessarily. But would you anticipate you'd spend a certain amount or a limited amount of time on the council, or would you be willing to just see where God leads, and as long as it doesn't conflict with all the other stuff that you're responsible for?
I think that's perfectly put. Just seeing where God leads. You know, I mean, I'm here right now because God led me here.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I did not anticipate being in this role of public service at 21 years old. That is, I admit, that is totally uncommon. You know,
Yeah.
and unheard of, like you said. So, but I'm doing it because I feel like this is a passion that the Lord has placed within me to give back. This is not something that, you know, when He gives you a calling, and you know as well as I know, when
Yes,
He gives
sir.
you a calling, He tells you, know what, this is I want you to do this. It doesn't matter what age you're at. It
No,
doesn't
that's
matter what time it is. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly,
You just
yeah.
have to just go and do it.
In His economy, there is no time,
Exactly.
and He provides what we need
Yeah.
within the frame of reference we have, which
Yeah.
is time until He
Yeah.
returns. It was time. Things will change.
Exactly.
It occurs to me, looking historically over the past several decades, that it's not unknown for relatively young members of the community to be involved actively in politics in that way. One recollection I have is that former mayor and state legislator Paul Gianfrido went to the legislature, and then he was a one-term mayor here in town years ago, and just recently came back into town. And it's been interesting catching up with him and seeing what he thinks at this point in his life now, compared to the way things when when his life experiences were different, his priorities may have been a little bit different, and all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Do you think that someone at 21 does bring that kind of perspective that might open the eyes of, or maybe pull the curtain back a little bit for someone else who is not in that place at the current time and may have passed through it before, but maybe doesn't quite remember what the people's priorities were at that time in their life and how they want the city to serve them or how they want to contribute to the city?
Definitely. I mean, you know, we all have that love of nostalgia, but we don't necessarily remember accurately everything, all the details of what the past had in store for us, what we had lived and experienced.
Right.
So it's important to have people who are coming up now, who are experiencing those same things again. That it's fresh for them. This is at the surface for them.
Right.
This isn't behind them, but this is in front of them and what they're facing. And so it's important to have those people at the table, because oftentimes, and we need the older generation and the newer generation, but oftentimes it may be forgotten, the struggles of the newer generation. And so they're both equally as important, but to disregard one or the other is not a good thing for the community.
Yeah,
So,
it occurs to me, someone of my age, I'm 64. I arrived in Middletown when I was 26.
Yeah.
The guy that came and never left. That sometimes one of the reasons why the good old days feel or sound or are remembered so fondly is because they're back there then and we're up here now.
yeah. Yeah, 100%. Like, you know, you go through things and you're like, just like you said, the good old days. And you always remember, our brain has a way of picking out all of the beautiful moments and all the sunset moments.
And overlooking the grungy
trials.
ones.
Yeah, the grimy ones, the trials and tribulations. So that's, to your point, yeah, we need to have everybody at the table, people who are younger too, and that are going to speak up for what young people are facing.
Yeah. For the purposes of this conversation, could you describe to me some of the things that you have in mind that you would like to bring to the table in service? My guest on today's WIHS Journal has been Edward Ford of Middletown, a candidate for Common Council of Middletown in the general election in November. For further information, call us at 860-346-1049 or visit YouTube, WIHS 1049, to see our programs. The opinions expressed are those of the participants, not necessarily those of the staff or management of the station. I'm Paul Kretschmer on the WIHS Journal, Public Affairs from WIHS, Middletown.